Athletes, welcome back. Today we are going to be tackling handstand push-ups. We've got kipping versions, and then we've got a short expose on your strict as well, so we can give you a couple tips there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get straight into it. We've got TJ joining us today. So we are gonna start from the basic of basic, and we're gonna talk about your hand positioning, how you get up on the wall, what you're gonna do once you're on the wall, and then how you can get into your reps. And if you haven't gotten your first handstand push-up, this will hopefully get you there. And then if you do, hopefully this will make you a little bit more efficient. So the first thing that we're gonna talk about is what we're going to do with our head position and our hand position. So I'm gonna have TJ face the far wall. So go ahead and turn this way, and I want you to get down on your hands and knees for me, TJ. So we talk about a tripod head position. So what this means is that if you think about when you have a barbell in your hands are slightly in front of your slightly in front of your head. So our hands are not lined up with our head, which is what people try to do a lot of times when they go into a handstand push-up, which is gonna put your shoulder in a bad position, and it's a very weak position for pressing. If we use the pike push-up as kind of a graduating movement up to our handstand position, it's gonna look like this. TJ's gonna have his hands positioned a little bit outside shoulder width, hands are slightly turned out. He's gonna come down to the floor, and notice how his head comes forward in front of his hands. So if I drew a line between all these points, it would make a triangle. He's gonna press back up, and then I want you to come down, TJ, and show a bad position. So put your head right between your hands. This is a very weak position, and this is gonna be something, if you have shoulder impingement, it's gonna make it worse. So he's gonna press out of this and go back into that tripod position and press out of it. Good, and go ahead and relax. So that tripod position is what we want to practice first. If you guys are using a box with your feet on the box to go into those modified handstand push-ups, make sure that when we set this up, that if we're using a target like an ab mat, we have our hands set here. We're gonna have that edge of the ab mat that's gonna be lined up with the tips of our fingers. So that will give you a goal to go down into your tripod. The second thing that we're gonna look at, and I'm gonna have TJ put his hands on the wall so it's gonna be easier to see. So he's gonna put his hands on the wall, and this is gonna be how they're gonna be placed on the floor when we go into our handstand push-up. He has a slight turnout of his hands. I usually like to think about taking this hand, or this, you call it your thumb pit because it's between your thumb and your pointer finger, and turn it so that this is facing the wall right here. This is gonna mimic the same way that when TJ gets a barbell in his hands are not completely flat with that bar because it would put us into a weird position with our arms. We're gonna have a slight turnout, and it's the same thing that we mimic when we go into our handstand push-up. Go ahead and relax for me, TJ. The next thing that we have is that we're gonna have TJ get down onto the floor and show where he typically puts his hands the distance away from the wall. Now this is super important because one position is gonna be bad for you and not allow you to stay in a handstand. The other one is not going to put you in a great position for your neck. So we're gonna talk about the neck position first, and then we'll go a little bit closer. If TJ's too far away from the wall, so he gets back here, if he was to kick into a handstand and come down, his body would be angled back towards the wall so much that his neck is that fulcrum at that point, and if you've ever had neck pain, there's a good chance you're too far from the wall. The second bad position that we can do is gonna be too close. So if he's too close, his neck's gonna be in a relatively good position. However, he's so close to the wall, there's not enough room for his body to load up in the bottom position where we're in that tripod, and he's gonna fall over every time. If we find that Goldilocks zone, he's gonna find about halfway in between where he feels comfortable, and then that's what we're going to use. So as you're kicking up and you're practicing your handstand push-ups, play around with the distance from the wall and make sure, most importantly, you're not too far away. If we're too far away, then we're gonna get that neck in a bad position, and we always wanna emphasize safety first, and then we can get into our efficiency. Now, TJ's gonna stand up for us, and we're gonna go into our kick up. Now, with our kick up, this is gonna be something that anytime you're doing gymnastics, and I know Pamela Gagnon would be very proud of what I'm about to say, you gotta make it look good in order to perform good. So if we're going up in a broken position to where it's all jerky or we don't have nice long lines, you're gonna not get into great positions, and you have the chance of hurting yourself as well. So TJ's gonna show us what a kick up is gonna look like. He's going to walk up to the wall, place his hands down, and kick directly up into the wall. And hold for just a second. We're gonna try to keep those body lines nice and long. So we're thinking about feet are together and we're pointing those toes up to the ceiling. And go ahead and come down for us, TJ. Good. Now, a couple things that TJ did really, really well there is that when he kicked up, we talk about a scorpion kick. So what that looks like is that if TJ gets back down on the floor like he's going to kick up, I'm gonna pause him here. And what we're gonna think about doing is I'm gonna get TJ into a position like he's about to start a race. So he's gonna go ahead and get one foot underneath his body and his hips. He has his other leg kicked out here. This is gonna be the scorpion tail that he has. So he's gonna kick up with that back leg, and then that's what's gonna pull his body up to the ceiling. Go ahead and relax, come down. Now, when you're practicing this for the first couple times, I want you to think about over kicking. I want you to kick through the wall. As long as you're not kicking up onto stained glass, you shouldn't damage anything, but that's gonna help you figure out how much power that you need to get. As you get more experience with that and it becomes more comfortable to get upside down and do that, I want you to start lowering that power so that you have just enough to make contact with the wall. What this is gonna help is it's gonna have great transference over to your handstand walking when you start practicing that, because if we're practicing over kicking every single time, that's just to help us get to the wall and find the wall. When we learn how to figure out that power, it's like getting a sports car and it's like your first car that you've had and you don't know how the gears work. I'm gonna have you overgear a little bit to at least get to the wall, and then we're gonna dial it in and figure out how to run that car. So when we kick up, we can get to a balance point, and then when we have no wall and we're handstand walking, you already know where you need to go at. Now, TJ's gonna kick up one more time, and we're going to show you how to avoid the dreaded frog dismount. So he's gonna kick up, he's gonna show us what a frog dismount looks like. He's gonna come down with both legs, and this is bad. If you want turf toe or you wanna jam your feet, then this is exactly what you need to do. What happens is that a lot of times people get so excited and so confident about getting upside down, they forget how to come down. It's the same way when people learn how to climb a rope. They usually learn how to climb a rope before they learn how to come down, and you end up with burned hands. So with this, what'll happen is they'll just drop off the wall. We wanna make sure that the mount and the dismount both look good. They both have those nice long lines. So he's gonna kick up for us. And all TJ's gonna do to dismount, he's gonna let one leg, one more time. He's gonna let one leg come off the wall, and that's gonna pull his body from the wall. So when we come off of the wall, he still keeps that leg straight, and he can go as slow as he wants, and eventually he reaches that tipping point to where he can come down. The cue that I'm gonna give you and the cue that I'm gonna give TJ is the floor is made of eggs, and you can't break any of them. So when you come down, make sure that you are coming down in that nice controlled fashion so we avoid any of those mistakes that we have where we end up hurting something and we're like, oh, this is so dumb because I did this. So it's very important to practice both of these, the mount and the dismount. Now, we are getting into the handstand push-up itself. The number one tip that I can give you, and I've applied this to everything, including when life gets hard, when the movement gets hard, you gotta breathe. So what TJ's gonna do is that when he kicks up, he's gonna take a nice deep breath in so he stabilizes his core. And we're gonna take a look at what this is. So he's gonna kick up. He's gonna take a nice deep breath in, and I just want TJ to come down to the floor. Nice tripod position here. Go ahead and dismount for me, TJ. So come down and then stand back up for me. Now, when TJ's gonna go into our next piece, we're gonna talk about how we're gonna load the Kipping handstand push-up. You have 3 cues that you're gonna do, and you have to do these in order. The first one is that his head goes to the floor. The second one is that his butt goes to the wall. And then the third one is he's gonna load his legs so that he's gonna look like he's in an upside down squat. So we're gonna go ahead and head back up to the wall. So TJ's gonna come down to the floor with his head, butt goes against the wall, and he loads his legs. From this position, I'm gonna let him do a Kipping handstand push-up, and go. Good, and dismount. Wonderful. So as you see, if we do this out of order, where TJ is up against this, or he's up in his handstand and he comes with butt against the wall first and he scoots his butt down the wall, not only are we in a bad position and that's gonna slow us down, but it's not gonna be conducive to being able to cycle those reps. So we're gonna go back upside down. TJ's gonna give us 3 Kipping handstand push-ups at his speed. So I'm gonna let him kick up, and I want you to notice how he goes head, butt, legs, head, butt, legs, head, butt, legs, and dismount. Now, when you get efficient at Kipping handstand push-ups, those 3 things are almost gonna happen simultaneously, but if you slow it down, you will see that head, butt, loading his legs. Now, to get out of the handstand position where we're in that tripod and he's loaded up in his upside down squat, what we're thinking about doing is that we have to exhale, kip, and press at the same time. Now, if you've gotten into this position and you're upside down in that upside down squat and you find that you're kicking yourself off of the wall, I want you to think about kicking into the wall as you go into your kip, because more than likely your heels are gonna scrape against the wall, but you're still gonna be able to stay in a balanced position. And if you find that every time you load up, you're still falling off the wall, try inching those hands out slightly from the wall in your setup to see if that assists you as well, just making sure that we're paying attention to how our neck feels. Now, we're gonna have TJ go through another 3 reps, and what he's gonna do is he's gonna audibly breathe out for us so you can hear his timing with his breathing. And when we're going down into this, you are not dropping onto your head. I can't stress that enough. We have to practice this so that we're nice and controlled as we're going down. And as Buzz Lightyear would say, we're falling with style, but we're making sure that we're keeping tension through our arms. We're not just releasing and letting Jesus take the wheel, because it's that neck, we got to keep that safe, all right? So we're gonna kick back up. And so TJ's gonna audibly exhale as he goes into his kip. And go, good. One more, and relax, good. Now, with the kipping handstand push-up, we do have progressions that we can use for this. In classes, we typically like to use dumbbells starting out so that athletes can get into a neutral hand position. They're gonna dip and drive overhead, practicing the same breathing. The second thing we can do is we can get a box. We can have that athlete put their feet on the box to get themselves vertical and practice going into that tripod position. And then thirdly, we can use ab mats to give ourselves a target to go down to. Now, I don't like using these more than 2 because we don't like to shorten range of motion in a movement that we're doing. We typically like to build up full range of motion strength, but because we're getting upside down, and this is something that very few people do on a regular basis, on a daily basis, we want to get them comfortable with loading into this. So TJ is going to show us what this looks like. And what we're going to do is that we're going to go ahead and kick up to the wall. He's going to come down to his ab mats, and now he can load and go into a kipping handstand push-up. Good, and one more time. And go, and relax, come down. So the nice thing about this is that using 2 ab mats is gonna give him a higher target that he can reach so that he can really think about what his body's doing. It's not necessarily decreasing the difficulty of the movement. I'm just wanting him to get to a position that he knows he can press out of. Then we can take an ab mat away, he can do another rep there. From there, if we wanna change it to a smaller piece like a skull mat, which our Smart Gear makes, those are really nice, which are gonna be thinner than the ab mat, so you can graduate yourself down. The most important thing that I can tell you is that whatever surface you're using, you should use something padded. Please, please, please never do this on a hard cement floor, because I don't care how hard-headed your spouse or partner says that you are, the floor is always harder than your head is. So please make sure that you keep yourself safe there. Now, that covers most everything that we have for our kipping handstand push-up. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take a quick look at our strict handstand push-ups. Everything is gonna apply in terms of our hand positioning, in terms of our head positioning, in terms of how we kick up and kick down. However, at this point, what's gonna happen is that TJ's gonna kick up, we're gonna come down to the floor, make contact with our head, and then we're gonna press directly out of that. What you're gonna see is that when TJ does this, I want you to see the similarities between a bar pressing into a little bit of a J pattern as we come down to our shoulders in front of our head and then back up. So he's gonna go ahead and kick up. He's gonna give us an audible breath so that you guys know when to breathe out. So he's gonna come down into his tripod position and breathe out. And again, and relax, come down. So with that, the strict handstand push-up is a very, very difficult movement, and the only way that you can really mess that up is that if you lose tension in the bottom. Now, if you're strong upper body, there's a good chance that you could go down, you could rest on your head, and then you could build tension and press out again, and that's if you're a strong bodyweight athlete. However, for the majority of people, and especially when you're doing this in a workout, you do not want to lose tension in that bottom position because it is so difficult to build tension back up under load and then press out again. The last thing that I'll talk about, and this is a little bonus piece, is that the majority of shoes that you see that are made for fitness training or CrossFit will have a piece on the back of the heel that allows it to glide. So you'll see this with Metcons, you'll see this with Nanos. But what you want to do is that when TJ is upside down, what we're looking at doing is that if we keep our toes pulled down, the back side of that heel can slide against the wall. So when he kicks up, We can go into a kipping handstand push-up here. He keeps those toes pulled down slightly, and that's gonna let those shoes slide against the wall as he goes up. So keep that in mind when you get into your handstand push-up. Go ahead and come down, TJ. And that covers it for our handstand push-ups. As a quick recap, make sure that you've got your nice tripod going on, hands are slightly turned out. Make sure that you breathe, and we wanna follow that load your head, load your butt, load your legs, and then breathe, kip, and press all at the same time. If you use these tips, we know that you will be well on your way to becoming the master at handstand push-ups that we know that you can be. Thank you.